My dear 12th class students, and today in your botany we are going to take up the monohybrid cross as carried out by Mendel. And previously we have discussed about the seven pairs of contrasting traits in pea plant that were studied by Mendel. If you remember, those were the seed shape, round wrinkled, seed color, yellow, green, flower color, violet, white, pod shape, full or constricted, and pod color, green, yellow, flower position, axial or terminal, and the stem height, either tall or dwarf. And now today we will discuss about the monohybrid cross. Mendel's factors, which Mendel called as the factors, now known as genes. Now we know them by the name genes. The genes are the units of inheritance. Basically, the genes which Mendel called as the factors are actually the units of inheritance. They are responsible for carrying the characters from parents to their offsprings. And genes contain the information that is required to express a particular trait in an organism. It is the genes, wholly the genes that are responsible for character transmission. Genes which code for a pair of contrasting traits. The genes which code for a pair of contrasting traits are known as alleles. That is, they are slightly different forms of the same gene. When the alphabetical symbols are used for each gene, the capital letter is used for the trait expressed at the filial 1 or F1 stage, and the small alphabet for the other trait. In case of character of height, when we take the height character into consideration, capital T is used for the tall trait and small t is used for the dwarf, and capital T and small t are the alleles of each other. Hence, in plants, the pair of alleles for height would be capital T, capital T, small t, or small t, small t. Also, Mendel proposed that in a true breeding tall or dwarf pea variety, the allelic pair of the genes for height are identical or homozygous. Capital T, or small t, respectively. Capital T denotes the homozygous tall, and small t, the homozygous dwarf. Capital T and small t are called the genotype of the plant, while the descriptive term is tall and dwarf, or the phenotype. Here is how the cross is made. This longer arrow represents the tall pea plant, and the small and the shorter one represents the dwarf. When these two parental types are crossed with each other, that means hybridization is carried out. The resultant in the F1 generation, here we see that the result is all tall. In the F1 generation, there is no representation of the dwarf or any sign of dwarf, because all the characters are phenotypically represented as expressed as tall variety. All the plants are tall in the F1 generation, and on selfing of these F1 generation, the next F2 generation that is produced surprisingly produces the progeny in the ratio of 3:1. That means 3 out of 4, 3 are tall and 1 is dwarf. This is the ratio, though the Mendel's experiments were carried out on huge populations and his sampling sizes were quite large. That is to be remembered. Here we see that in the F2 generation, the ratio of the tall and the dwarf is 3:1, with tall, pure tall, these phenotypically pure tall, 3 pure tall and 1 pure dwarf. None of the plants was intermediate or with blending characters. And this is the monohybrid cross. And now, as Mendel found the phenotype of the F1 heterozygote, capital T, small t, to be exactly like the capital T parents in appearance, he proposed that in a pair of dissimilar factors, one dominates the other. Later on, he propounded the law which we will discuss lately, that is the law of dominance. Here, it dominates the other F in the F filial 1 and hence is called the dominant factor, while the other factor that is not expressed in the F1 generation or filial 1 generation is the recessive correct factor. In this case, capital T for tallness is dominant. Hope you understand this. So in the Mendel's monohybrid cross, for the height, capital T for tallness is dominant over small d for dwarfness, that is recessive. Mendel observed identical behavior for all other characters or traits which were studied in pairs, and then it is logical to use capital and lowercase of alphabetical symbol. Remember this concept of dominance and recessiveness. That is, logically we use the capital and the lowercase of an alphabetical symbol to remember this concept of dominance and recessiveness. Likewise, capital T for tall and small d for dwarf is not used. It is not convenient. It will create confusion. The alleles can be similar as in case of homozygous capital T or small t, or can be dissimilar as in the case of the heterozygote capital T small t. Since capital T small t plant is heterozygous, for genes controlling one character, that is height, it is monohybrid. And capital T small t cross, that is tall and crossed with hybridized with the dwarf, is a monohybrid cross. And this was the monohybrid cross for you. Hope you understand this all. Thanks. Have a nice day.